Google Maps makes places look a lot smaller than they really are. I have this terrible habit of viewing something that is small enough for me to walk across from one side to the other, then I zoom out and think that since I can still see the thing I can walk across, that I'll also still be able to walk from one side of the screen to the other. Since it's only twice the size of Plymouth, I must easily be able to walk across Dartmoor as well. Or since the width of the Thames takes up a sizable portion of the screen, I could also walk across London. Yeah, why don't I just walk from Las Vegas to the Hoover Dam? It's only next door. Obviously I can't do these things. I only have to remember how inconvenient it is to have to go to the corner shop for milk to know that places are a lot bigger than they seem when browsing Google Maps from the comfort of my desk. You'd think I would have learnt my lesson by now, but when preparing for my trip to Jordan, I checked out the Wadi Rum Desert, did my usual flawed analysis of its size and asked myself, is that it? It doesn't look like you could swing a cat there without hitting a road, camp or mysterious green thing. But obviously you can, because it's a desert, and it's big. We started our day in Aqaba, which is right by the coast. What separates this place from the desert are these mountains. Judging them on Google Maps, they look like little more than muddy hills. You might think you could walk over them in a matter of minutes, but obviously you see them in person and they're actually really big and impressive. What beautiful mountains they were. Jagged, cracked peaks and precarious boulders that look ready to tumble down the mountain the moment you're stood beneath them. Similar to the canyon leading to Petra, I think the mountains you pass through to reach the Wadi Rum Desert really help to get you feeling like you're going on an adventure, and that maybe it was a good idea not to have walked there. At the entrance of the desert is the Wadi Rum Village. Looks like nothing on Google Maps, but approaching it looks like a tropical paradise from Assassin's Creed or something. It's here that you sit in a small building and get offered a drink while you're waiting for your tour truck to arrive. Visit Wadi Rum and you'll have a lot of tea. Well, I call it tea, but it's nothing like that. It's mostly sugar and spices, in what looks like a shot glass. It's odd to be drinking hot tea while in the desert, but it's got electrolytes. The desert is inhabited by the bedouin. These people have lived here for hundreds of years and are masters of desert survival. Lawrence of Arabia stayed with their great-grandfathers here during World War I. They have their own unique way of life, but are adapting to a modern world. They still keep and love their camels, but now drive trucks, which has transformed desert travel. Perilous journeys that used to be measured in days can now be done for fun in a matter of hours. Vehicles are jolly convenient for them. Their children are driven to the town for education, and they have made tourism a large part of their life, hosting tours for visitors, which is exactly what I was doing there. All of the guides know and are related to each other. This is their lives. It's a nice community and it looks like they have fun driving in formation around the desert plains. They're the boy racers of the desert. We spent our tour in the back of a truck with two other couples, approaching landmarks, getting out and being told we had X amount of time before moving on again. There was a good supply of cold, bottled water in the back, so there was no excuse to be thirsty. This was the first stop, a spring partway up one of the cliffs. We were told to climb it. It wasn't particularly easy, but I think nicely summed up what the tour was like. You never knew quite where you'd be going next, or how much would be expected of you. The climb wasn't hard, but don't expect steps and handrails. And do expect it to be hot, with the sun beating down on you. We reached the top, where there was indeed a small bit of water still coming out of this mountain after 7 months of drought. Then we climbed down again, and headed on to the next place. This was a sand dune that we could climb. If you've ever climbed one on a beach, then you know what to expect. It's one step forward, half a step back, all the way up. I'm not a fan of Transformers, but I noticed they used this dune in the second movie, even if YouTube commenters, in their infinite wisdom, state otherwise. And actually yeah, running down a sand dune is super cool to do. It's like you're running on butter in slow motion, or jumping on the moon. This canyon was a highlight for me. It's not like you can do much there. You go along a path until it gets too steep to carry on, but you can peer through a gap at the seemingly endless cliffs towering up either side, and the sunlight illuminating the entire canyon. Pictures don't do it justice, but it's like something right out of Indiana Jones. There are 3 arches. The first is this one, which the guide took pictures of us all on. You don't know when you're stood on this one because it starts sooner than it looks. The second arch you can't reach. You simply see it far away up the side of one of the cliffs. And the third is this one, which is one of the last places we drove to. It's pretty difficult to get up there. The passage is narrow and there's a stream of people coming the other way. We also got to see Lawrence of Arabia's house, though later we were told it probably wasn't, since he tended to stay with the Bedouin people in their camps and stuff. There are hundreds of stone cans here, as well as another silly, busy climb that you can do to get further up. It was down below here in the tents where we stopped for a tea break. We happened upon some wild camels, who seemed to know that trucks equal food. For lunch we drove to the mouth of a canyon and were given a little packed lunch to eat and 2 hours to relax. If you wonder where you pee in the desert, the answer is wherever you like. It's the desert. But maybe go somewhere secluded, and not in a canyon because it does make the place smell, as we noticed in some parts of our visit. Not that you'll be peeing much in the desert. I don't know where all that water goes. Now, it didn't take us 2 hours to eat lunch, so we decided to explore, as this was our best opportunity we had to do our own thing. We walked straight out of the canyon and across the desert. I thought I saw horses. And they were. We encountered 2 women and their guide, who had been camped out here for several nights. They were out of dry shampoo, but seemed to be enjoying themselves. Seemed like we had only just scraped the surface of what there was to do in the desert. We were told to keep an eye out for Mark, who was apparently a free soul who had walked off and had spent the last few days camping out in the desert alone. We never did find him, though everybody we talked to seemed to know about him. I wonder if he did exist, or if he was just instead a dank meme of the desert. As we approached the evening, the colours started to change. Shadows began creeping across the plains. At one point we were dropped off and were told to walk through a canyon to meet our guide on the other side, which was pretty cool. As we emerged from the other side, we watched people surf down the sand dunes for a while. Our last stop was to watch the sunset. As we drove towards our destination, we could see groups climbing to lookout points, perched in all kinds of weird spots, waiting for the sunset. We certainly weren't alone, but it didn't matter. We were all there for the same reason. We got ourselves a wonderful view, and sat with the other people on our tour who we had grown rather fond of through our journey. If I'm honest, I think this was the worst sunset we had in Jordan, but it didn't matter. It was more about the vast expanse, the feeling of the unknown at what might be out there, or just over the next mountain. I thought I had kept a good idea of what direction we were headed all day, but realising we were facing west made me realise that at some point in the day I must have completely lost my bearings. I don't know where we were here, and you know what? I don't want to know. I want to preserve that bit of mystery. I spend my life documenting and learning about things. I live to transform the mysterious into the boring and explained, and with it there is a certain magic and wonder that's lost. So it was nice just to sit there, completely lost, and to appreciate it for what it was. And to take lots of pictures. And, of course, to have some tea. As night fell, we headed to our camp. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was a lot more luxurious than I had prepared for. There were flushable toilets, working showers, even charging points for phones and cameras. It was a lot more sophisticated than some of the other places we had stayed in Jordan. We went around the back where food had been cooking underneath the ground all day. Then we went to an extravagant food hall for dinner. There were people from Italy there, Australia, China, people from all over the place, of all ages. It makes you think that maybe we weren't being that adventurous after all. I didn't film the next bit, but we went outside and sat around a campfire, and one of the bedouin people talked to us about their way of life. I won't be able to do justice to what he said in this video, but we listened to him talk about what life was like out there in the desert, what they thought of the rest of the world, and what they want the rest of the world to think about them. I think it's fair to say that the Middle East doesn't have the best reputation in Western countries, but from our time in the desert, and in Jordan in general, I can say that that's a real shame, as we were made to feel nothing but welcome here. If I had to sum it up, if you were to be randomly teleported to anywhere in the world right now, you could do a lot worse than to choose somewhere in the Wadi Rum Desert. The Bedouin people have transformed this inhospitable place into somewhere safe and welcoming. The camp was big, but the night was quiet. Being a place with low light pollution, it's recommended that you have a look at the stars. I've already made a video talking about this, so I won't repeat myself here. The next day we had breakfast, then drove back to the village. As opposed to nomads who travel from place to place, the Bedouin people of Wadi Rum have made this place their home. They have been here for countless generations, and they respect and preserve it. I asked them a few questions. Now that they had vehicles, did they still have need for camels? They assured me that camels were good for more than just storage space and that they still had a valuable place in their community. I also asked their thoughts on climate change. Being in the desert, I thought they might have some unique insight into it, but they just assumed I was talking about the seasons, which I guess in a way answers my question. I also asked them how they made their tea, because it was some good shit, and they said the trick was to boil the water with the sugar already in it, then listed all of the herbs and spices that went into it, which I have since forgotten. The previous day, my girlfriend complimented our guide's mats, and asked him where they could be bought from. He said she could have his. Nothing more was said about it at the time. We thought it was just a nice gesture. But he remembered, and just before we left for Petra, he hopped out of his truck and handed us the mat. My girlfriend was so happy. I was mortified, because we were travelling with Ryanair with just hand luggage. We managed it.